We have started a chapter called Mode of Acceptance and Repayment of Loans. In short, we will call it the chapter of cash loans. Alright. To cut the long story short, if you remember, the entire gist of the whole story was cash was discovered in the premises of an assessee, and the assessee was asked the source, and the reply given by the assessee has created this chapter. What was the reply given by the assessee? Remember that line. 5 minutes ago, I have taken a loan. Kya bola? 5 minutes ago, I have taken a loan. And this created the chapter that we are now going to prohibit, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot prohibit taking or giving of loans. Otherwise, the banking business will be illegal. What are we prohibiting? The mode of acceptance and repayment of loan. In short, cash loans are now not going to be allowed after creation of this chapter. For acceptance of loans, we have section 269 SS, and for repayment of loans, we have section 269 T. Only 2 sections governing the chapter. Very small chapter. Most likely, we will finish this chapter in today's class. We might have some time for starting another chapter also. Let's talk about the sections one by one then. First section, section 269 SS. 269 SS is with respect to what? Acceptance or repayment? Acceptance. So right now we will only talk about acceptance. What does it say? Please observe. No person shall. That means whatever we are writing over here, you will not be allowed to do that. No person shall do this. Do what? Take or accept. Please be very careful. No person shall take or accept. Every time there is a loan transaction, there are two parties, lender and borrower. The person who gives the loan is called the lender, and the person who accepts the loan is the borrower. Try to rewind that entire story of this chapter. I told you to keep it at the side of your brain. Who is the assessee with undisclosed income, who is escaping the levy of tax, interest, penalty, everything by saying 5 minutes ago, I have taken a loan? Who was that person? The lender or the borrower? Achha, by the way, before you answer this, when we say who was that person, the lender or the borrower, in reality, the transaction has not taken place at all. Actually, loan transaction has not taken place only. The false lender and the false borrower is actually what I am asking. Who is the person with undisclosed income? The false lender or the false borrower? Who is that person in whose premises we found that cash? Come on. The borrower. You agree with that? 5 minutes ago, I have taken a loan. Then whom should we prohibit? The lender or the borrower? Look at this. They have very clearly mentioned the prohibition is on taking the loan. The prohibition is on accepting the loan. See, you may have a counter question. Sir, you're saying anything. No? Kuch bhi, subah you are saying, sir, if taking loan is prohibited, automatically it means that giving is also prohibited only, no? If someone will give, then only the taker will take, no? Hello. But then you are not understanding what is happening. If you violate the provisions of 269 SS, we have told you not to take cash loans, but you still take the cash loan, there is going to be a penalty. Please pay attention. I'll teach you what the penalty is. That penalty will get attracted on the borrower, not on the lender, and therefore we can say the lender is immune from any consequence in this chapter, because whatever be the repercussion, whatever be the consequence of violation of 269 SS, that has to be faced by the borrower, and thus this chapter, you can say, is going to prohibit only the borrowers. Have you understood? The penalty will get attracted on the borrower, or you may put it this way, the lender is immune from applicability of any kind of penalty. So, no person shall, what are we prohibiting? Taking or giving? Accepting, taking the loan. That means who is our target? The borrower. No person shall. Is the screen not visible? Is it visible now? No person shall take or accept. That means whom are we prohibiting? The borrower. The borrower. Have you understood? What I have discussed is only what I have written, that there is no applicability of any provision on the lender. The prohibition is going to get attracted on the borrower. Take or accept what? No person shall take or accept any loan, deposit or advance for sale of property, very popularly, famously in real estate market, known by the name of token money. Token. Ladies and gentlemen, one piece of bad news first. I have not closed the bracket here. I have not closed this bracket. If you did it, that's your mistake. I have not closed the bracket. I am still not done. As far as loan transaction is concerned, there are two parties, lender and borrower. Who is the person with the undisclosed cash? Lender or the borrower? And therefore, we are prohibiting the borrower that is taking or accepting. That means after the enactment of 269 SS, can I say that stupid argument, sir, 5 minutes ago I have taken a loan, 5 minutes ago I have taken a loan, is not going to work anymore because you are not allowed to take loan. The section has already prohibited taking or accepting of such loans. Can anyone give this argument now? 5 minutes ago I have taken a loan. Even if you give this argument, you will be liable for penalty. So is this argument going to work anymore? That's my question. 5 minutes ago I have taken a loan. No. But we live in a country called India. Okay. And in our country, people are not interested in learning the law. People are not interested in knowing the provisions of the law. People are interested in, sir, is there any way out? There is one thing common between Baba log, you know Babas, no? Nirmal Baba, Radhema, Asaram Bapu, and chartered accountants. People approach them for solutions. So listen, when this section got enacted and loans got prohibited, searches will still take place. Undisclosed cash will still be discovered. AO will still ask the source. Assessee can no longer give the argument of loan. This time, you know what the assessee said? Listen, sir, can you see this house? AO says, yes. I want to sell my house. And I don't know what is your general knowledge about real estate market. Every time you want to sell any property, you don't get the full consideration, full sale consideration at one go. It's a very rare thing. Generally, there is going to be a small short advance given by the buyer to the seller, and we call it by the name of token money. And then they mutually decide a period within which the buyer has to pay the balance amount to the seller. That is known as token. Have you heard this term called token in property market before today? So now what is the assessee saying? Sir, 5 minutes ago I have taken loan. Nahi. 5 minutes ago I have taken a very smart. And thus we will have to prohibit that also. Otherwise assessee will again escape. Loans we have prohibited, but we have to prohibit this also. This provision was incorporated in 2015. 2015. So it's very old now. It's been 6-7 years now. Okay. And thus I will have to now complete my bracket. In loan transaction, there are two parties, lender and borrower. Who was the party with undisclosed cash? Borrower. So we have prohibited taking or accepting. That means, can I say we have prohibited the borrower? In property sale transactions, there are two parties, buyer and seller. Who was the person with undisclosed cash? Buyer or seller? And thus, along with the borrower, we are also going to cover the seller for the purpose of this last thing. Advance for sale of property, token money will cover sellers, and this is where we are going to close our bracket. No person shall take or accept. So first of all, get this thing very, very clearly in your head. There is absolutely no prohibition on giving. Can you give loan? Absolutely yes. Any mode? Absolutely yes. Any amount? Absolutely yes. There is no prohibition on the lender. There is no prohibition on the buyer. Ladies and gentlemen, no prohibition on the lender, no prohibition on the buyer. The prohibition is on the taker, the acceptor. In loan transactions, who is the taker? The acceptor? Borrower. And in token transactions, who is the taker? The acceptor? The seller. The prohibition is on the taker of loan, advance and deposit. We are going to prohibit you. And that means penalty will get attracted on the borrower for loan or deposit transaction, or on the seller for token transaction if you have violated the provision of 269 SS. 269 SS is still not over. But by the way, you know the language that I am writing over here, I am trying to explain it in an easy manner. Have you understood the explanation that I gave you here, or what I told you about the token? This is, ladies and gentlemen, the bare act for you. Data taken from Income Tax Act. The best place to learn the law, if you want to read what the act says, if you want to know what is given in the section, the best place to enlighten yourself about the law is the bare act. You should develop the skill of how to read any act, any section. Section, subsection, clause, subclause, proviso, proviso 2, proviso 3, sub-proviso, explanation. Huge sections, some of them in income tax. You should acquire that skill sooner or later. Of course, over here in our classroom, the objective is a little different. Objective is to prepare you for your exam called CA Final Direct Tax, where any kind of question you face, you should be and you will be able to answer anything and everything. That is our primary objective here. Primary objective is not to enlighten you about the act. Primary objective is that you should be able to answer questions in exam. So, majorly classroom will be confined to making the law simple for you. See, we get students of all categories. Some are like, sir, explain in the easiest possible manner. And some are like, no sir, you should always teach from the bare act. I cannot cater to any kind of individual request of any particular person unless and until it is a private tuition. I cannot cater to individual. I know what is in your best interest. Wherever required, wherever necessary and appropriate, we will take a reference directly from the act. But as a rule, main target is going to make everything simple and easy, with which you can get the best of marks in your exam. As a byproduct, wherever required, bare act will also be covered. There will be some limited places, but bare act will also be covered wherever and whenever required. Individual request, of course, sir, only teach from bare act. Don't use any notes. I am not taking your permission about how to do it. Okay, I know what is better. All right, so pay attention, please. What we are writing is also the bare act, but are you understanding the interpretation? You will probably understand, mainly because we are doing it by splitting it to parts. So first part is saying we are not allowing you. No person shall means we are not allowing. To do what? To take or accept means is giving allowed. If the prohibition is on taking, is giving allowed. Yes, that means we are prohibiting the borrower, we are prohibiting the seller. The lender and the buyer are immune. And what are we prohibiting from taking? Loan, advance or deposit. As a clarification, in the section 269 SS, there is an explanation which says that when we are referring to loan, deposit or advance, we are referring to loan, deposit or advance in money. We are talking about monetary loans. This section is not going to cover non-monetary loans. Some are like, sir, what? Sir, non-monetary? Listen, let me explain. I have got examples with respect to everything. Do you have the patience to hear me? That is more important. So, every time you borrow someone's clothes, especially when there are weddings and functions, we definitely borrow someone's sherwani, or say there is a function in my house. Can you give me, it's a haldi function, can you give me your yellow color dress? Can you give me your jewelry for one particular function? Arey, I have to go out with my very close friend. Can I borrow your car for a day? Arey, I have to go and buy milk. Can I take your Activa for a day? You have, or you must have, if not done, at least heard about borrowing things like clothes, jewelry, two-wheeler, four-wheeler. I am not saying that you borrow, but at least you have heard of things like these. That is also a loan. Do you understand? If you have taken someone's clothes, you have to return it. What is a loan? What is a loan? You take something and after some time you give it back. That is a loan. No, loan is something that you have to repay. So whether it is clothes, jewelry, two-wheeler, four-wheeler, are you supposed to give it back? All that is loan only. But such transactions are not covered in this chapter. Anyways, target was prohibition of cash, no? All throughout the chapter, I have told you to keep that example at the side of your brain. Target was prohibition of cash. So taking someone's jewelry or Activa or car or clothes is not cash. We want to curb movement of cash. So such transactions will not be covered. Did you understand what I mean by loan, advance, deposit? In money, non-monetary loans not covered in this chapter, only monetary loans and only on the acceptor. So for loan transaction, the borrower, and for token transaction, the seller. In short, what is the provision till here trying to tell us? You want me to tell you in one simple line, one simple language? You cannot take loan, advance, deposit. If you want to interpret this much, you cannot take loan, advance, deposit. But at this stage, do you remember the name of the chapter? The first word in the name of the chapter, that is mode. Do you have the common sense to understand that this section cannot stop here? If we stop here, that means you cannot take loan, advance or deposit. That means the banking sector or the property sector, they are all operating illegally. Of course not. So if I ask you, can you take loan? Can you take advance? Can you take deposit? Yes. The restriction is going to be on what? On the mode of transaction. And thus, we continue the section 269 SS. I will continue if you just tell me this much. Have you understood what we have done till now? Section is not over. After we tell about the mode, there is a monetary limit, only then section will get over. But have you understood till here that you are not allowed to take loans? That means prohibition is on taking, not on giving, and loan, advance, deposit only in monetary terms. Non-monetary transactions are not covered. You are not allowed to take or accept loan, advance or deposit otherwise than by way of bare act language. Otherwise than by way, to hell with it. Let me keep it simple for you. You are not allowed to take or accept loan, advance or deposit other than the following three modes. Account, pay, check. Generally, I assume that this explanation is not required ultimately. It's a CA final class. But I am a fan of, you heard of Babu Bhaiya? You don't know Babu Bhaiya? Huh? हाँ, and I love it when he says, मेरे को बिल्कुल रिक्स, I don't want any risks. Hello, risks नहीं मांगता. So what is an account pay check? When you write a check to someone and you sign over here, it can be a bearer check. The person can go and withdraw cash. When you draw two lines, it's a cross check. You cannot withdraw cash. It can only be deposited in a bank, but one person can transfer it to another person under the Negotiable Instrument Act. But when you draw the two lines and between them you write the words account pay, such a check is called an account pay check. This can only be deposited in the account of the person whose name is written over here. It cannot be transferred to anybody else. You cannot withdraw cash. Account pay check is basically going to identify whether the transaction has taken place in reality or the assessee is only making a fake claim. Remember that story. 5 minutes ago, I have taken a loan. If you take it through account pay check, we can have a look at your passbook and identify whether it's a real transaction or a fake transaction. So, account pay check is going to be allowed. That means, can I say cross check will not be allowed? Bearer check will not be allowed? Only which check is allowed? Account pay check. Observe the wordings of the Bear Act here. You will not take loan advance deposit are the first three lines. Other than these modes, you will not take. Look at the placement of the section. You will not take other than these modes. That day when I become the finance minister of the country, very soon, it's a matter of time, talks are going on. That day when I become the finance minister of the country, you know what I will write in the section? You can take loans in these three modes. You can take loans in these. There are two more modes that I will make you write here. You can take loans in these three modes. What are they saying? What is the present day act saying? You cannot take in other modes. Hello? Hello? You cannot take in other modes other than what we are writing here. That means, can I conclude that you can take loans in these modes? That means account pay check is an allowed mode of taking loan. Account pay check. Second mode, account pay draft. The only difference between a check and a draft is that demand draft, I don't know whether you have ever had the privilege of making one for giving it to ICAI for any of your registrations, because when we used to be students, ICAI never took a check from us. From students, they don't take check. From members, no, when I have to pay my membership fees, they will accept check. Because supposingly a student is giving a check and there is insufficient balance and the check bounces, the student will run away. But once you are a member, you can never run away from ICAI. And of course, of late we know that ICAI has become very modern and it is accepting online. At least membership fees I have been paying online only with my credit card. I don't know about what is the status as far as registration and exam fees are concerned. I think that is also accepted online now. Everything has happened online now. I think physically they have stopped. But in the good old days, there used to be something called a demand draft. It is still there, but ICAI is not taking it. Or I don't know whether they take also. But most people prefer to pay using the online mode. What is a demand draft? You go to the bank, you first give funds to the bank and also give the name on which you want to make the draft. Then there is going to be a similar to a check. The two lines will be drawn, account pay will be written, and this draft can be deposited only in the account of the person whose name is written here. The only difference between a check and draft thus being, check can bounce, demand draft cannot bounce due to insufficient funds because it is prepaid. But understand the ideology of this chapter, the whole logic of this chapter. This chapter wants traceability of transaction, whether the transaction has taken place in reality or assessee is making a false claim. If the transaction is taken place through account pay check, Can I say in the passbook of the lender and borrower, both, we will be able to find the transaction? Same is the case if it is account pay draft. So it is traceable. So that is also going to be allowed. Or modern problems, modern solutions. You can also now go for something called electronic modes. Electronic modes can be through a bank account, or it can be in other manner also. Listen, electronic modes through bank account. If you are today's generation student and you don't know about things like ECS, RTGS, NEFT, direct fund transfer, then there is a big problem. Huh? You cannot just learn taxation and become a CA. A CA is expected to know everything. He is expected to know financial reporting, management accounting, where to get funds from, where to apply funds, decision making, whether it's a good business proposal or no, taxation. And these CAs are expected to know computers also. Hello. So today's generation student, if you don't know what are e-wallets, what are mobile wallets, what is Paytm, what is Google Pay, if you don't know things like these, then there is trouble. Huh? I am not even asking you. I am assuming that, is that a correct assumption? If I ask you that, do you know what is Google Pay, do you know what is Paytm? Is it safe enough to assume? Or shall I open my phone and show it to you? No? Okay. For practical understanding, you can transfer some funds to my Paytm wallet if you want to get a proper idea. If you don't have experience, then you can I'll give it back. Don't worry. I'll give it back. Okay. Just to get a practical understanding. Alright. Let's focus. So you are aware of the things like NEFT, ECS. Are those electronic modes bank to bank or wallet to wallet? That is also okay till the time we are able to trace the transaction. We don't have any objection. In account pay check, are we able to trace the transaction? In account pay draft and in electronic modes, are we able to trace the transaction? Then these modes will be allowed. And anyways, the whole idea, the objective of the chapter was to prohibit transactions in cash. So only 3 modes are going to be allowed. Automatically, do you realize and understand that henceforth giving an argument, sir, 5 minutes ago I have taken a loan for your undisclosed cash is not going to work, because taking cash loan is not allowed. Only loan can be taken only in 3 modes. But just tell me one thing, because that will help me to decide whether you are understanding things or no. The modes which are written over here are the allowed modes or the disallowed modes? There may be a confusion because we have said no, other than these modes. Other than these modes, you are not allowed to do. That means these are the modes in which you are allowed to do your transaction. Understood? No person shall take other than these modes. So just quickly tell me, allowed or not allowed? I am asking you, you have to decide allowed or not allowed. Let me ask first. Then you say allowed or not allowed. Taking a loan in account pay draft. Allowed. Giving a loan in cash. Cash. Giving is nowhere covered in this chapter. There is absolutely no prohibition. Don't forget, taking or accepting is prohibited. Understood or no? Taking non-monetary loans like 2-wheeler, 4-wheeler borrowed for 1 day. Allowed. Okay. So, let me conclude, see if you have understood. As far as giving is concerned, absolutely no prohibition. Lenders and buyers are immune. Come to takers. When we talk about takers, non-monetary, no rule. You can do whatever you want. In monetary, you can take these 3 modes. Absolutely no prohibition. The prohibition is only taking of loans in cash. Have you understood that? Majorly, the section is over. Most of the explanation. In short, what we did at the beginning of the chapter, mode of acceptance, restriction on the mode, cash will be prohibited, with the discussion of section 269 SS that we have done till now. I think the picture is becoming clear. You are not allowed to take cash loans. But if the section stops here, there will still be some defect. This section cannot stop here. The provision cannot stop here. And for that you need to use some brains, some common sense. Okay. Little brain, little common sense. Supposingly our batch gets over. Now this batch has to be conducted online only. Anyways, in the near future, I don't expect Maharashtra to permit educational institutions to open. They don't even come in the consideration. So they are discussing what will happen with essential shops, what will happen with non-essential, what will happen. They give everything in detail. Every time they release a circular. Barber shops, hotels, spa, salon. They give everything in detail. Vegetable person, medical stores, essential, non-essential. They don't even talk about religious places and educational institution. They don't even come in the discussion probably. So I don't expect classes to open at least till the time our batch gets completed. And by chance, even if there is permission to give on half capacity or something, at half capacity we cannot work. No, we will have to do this. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 50% students allowed in class and 50% on Zoom. And Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 50% students in class and 50% on Zoom. You will be allowed 3 days in class and 3 days in Zoom. That does not, it does not work that way. No, we cannot run the class at half capacity. You all are CA final students. You all understand the thing called overhead cost. It is not possible to run a classroom at 50% capacity. Coaching classes cannot run only. So unless there is full permission, there is absolutely no question of starting physical class, at least in Mumbai. And rest of India also, almost everywhere batches are getting cancelled only. Absolutely free in life. Any work you have, let me know. Chalo. Coming to the point. Supposingly, next few months, maybe after December, January, things are a little normal. And in the month of March, when we have our case law lecture, I hope you remember in the introduction chapter I told you, we will be keeping one lecture on case laws. That day about 4 hours we will be doing case laws. About 1 hour we will be doing ICDS. And in case there is any new circular between batch completion and exam, last some set of instructions, so we will keep one full big lecture. Supposingly by that time we have permission for a physical class. Let's assume that we have permission for a physical class. But it will be a physical class after a long time. So there are chances that we are late. In my case, it is never going to be possible. Because if I know, if I know that I am going to this class after 2 years, so I will leave 45 minutes before normal schedule. In all circumstances, I will make it a point that I reach half an hour before the class. That is my discipline. I don't know whether you have observed by now. And in the last 1.5 years also, a Zoom class also has started at sharp 7. Never at 7:05 a.m. Never. In the last 11 years, not a single class has started at 7:05. Never. But some of you guys, in the Zoom class also you log in at 7:30. So expecting you to reach the physical classroom before 7 o'clock is definitely going to be too much, I believe. Okay. So you just have to switch on your device at home. You have the user ID, you have the password. You just have to open that app and enter in. And by the way, with the current batch, if you observe, the user ID and password is same. So by now you should have memorized it. You don't even need to open WhatsApp and search for it. But still you log in late. I'm expecting you to come on time on a physical class, for a physical class, is too much that way. Okay. Take care. Please make sure that you are disciplined in attending your class as per the schedule, because I have already told you in the first lecture itself, whatever be the reason, whoever be the student, there is absolutely no question of any backup or nothing. The live class covers only live class. There is absolutely no question of any backup. I have seen some students are missing class also. So yesterday there were at least 5-6 people who were absent. If you get a feeling that, if you think that I don't keep a track, I am keeping a check on every student. And this is a very small batch. I have had classrooms where I have taught 200, 300, 500, 600 students in one class. But I could still look at the face and tell that student, you are absent in charitable trust chapter, no? Student is like, sir, yes, I forgot, but you remember. Because it's a part of my job. I'm keeping a track of who is doing what. Don't miss lectures. Because whatever be the reason, nothing is more important. Let me be very, very clear about that. Okay. So, coming back to the point. Supposingly it's a physical class and you are getting very late. You reach under the building of the class and you realize that you have forgotten your wallet. Human nature, no? We forget everything. Except our mobile phone, we can forget anything and everything. I had once gone to attend a function before Corona. I came back home alone. I forgot that I had gone with my wife. Human nature, you can forget. Human nature, you can forget anything. I came back alone. I am telling you. So when you reach under the class building, you realize that you don't have your wallet, you don't have cash, and the taxi driver or the auto driver, whatever mode of transport you have taken, refuses to accept any plastic money. He does not have Paytm or Google Pay, anything. In this chaotic situation, I am the only person in the class whom you know, and you make desperate phone calls. Sir, 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 I have reached, sir, under the class, I am waiting. I have forgotten my purse, sir. Please, can you come and help me, sir? Please, please, please. See, listen. First of all, I am not helping you. It's a loan. Tomorrow you have to return it. Some are like, sir, you said you were helping. No. So I don't have to give it back. No, I am a Marwadi. So you have to give it back with interest because I am giving you a loan. So let's assume that you have to pay 50 rupees to the auto rickshaw driver and I help you with 50 rupees cash. Next day you have to return with interest. Huh? That means, have I given you a loan of 50 rupees in cash? I am the giver. Absolutely no prohibition in the chapter. Look at this transaction from your point of view. Just answer in yes or no. You, the student who were late to class, you, have you taken or accepted a loan, advance or deposit, any one of them?
Yes.
Which is in money?
Yes. Yes.
Other than the 3 allowable modes, you have taken in cash. That one mode which we wanted to prohibit anyways, that was the reason why the chapter was created.
Yes,
so going by the section 269 SS in its present structure, you, the student who has borrowed 50 rupees, do you understand, do you realize, will be liable for penalty. Do you understand that? And thus this section cannot get over here. This section will continue further and add one last line in the section. Take a guess about what the last line will be. There is going to be a monetary threshold under which even cash loan is going to be allowed. No person shall take or accept loan, advance or deposit other than the 3 allowable modes if the amount of loan, tell me how much cash loan you took from me? 50 rupees. Plus, if there is any outstanding loan from the same party, from the same person, supposingly it's a proper 2-month physical class batch, and every day you forget your wallet. So you ask for 50 rupees. One day you come and say, sir, I was in Lonavala holidaying with my family, but look at my discipline. I reached on time for the class. So 200 rupees. Then one day you come from Pune, so you take another 1000 rupees. One day you say, sir, I just landed from Delhi. You heard of Jethalal? His wife's brother, every time he comes from Ahmedabad, he takes taxi ka fare from him only. Something similar to that. Okay. So something, every day you come late. Add the total loan that you have taken from me till date. Is it possible that from the person from whom you are taking the loan today, you have taken some loan in the past also? Add that. If that total is rupees 20,000 or more, then section 269 SS will get triggered and you will be liable for penalty. If the total is how much? 20,000 or more. Now, the things that matter and you have never paid attention, very, very important. That means tell me, 30,000 cash loan taken, that's a violation?
Yes.
15,000 cash loan taken, not a violation? Total from the same party till now. Adding past loan and present loan, total. No violation. 20,000 taken, exact 20,000 taken. It is a violation. The term equal to is a very, very important term in income tax. And I would like to remind you right from the definition of senior citizen. Hello? Equal to 60, equal to 80 covered. Equal to 5 lakh, rebate available. Equal to 50 lakh, surcharge not applicable. Over there it was greater than. Here is equal to 20 also covered in 269 SS is also going to trigger, attract 269 SS. Yes, if your total balance, be careful, it has to be from the same person. So listen. Supposingly you come late every day, don't borrow from the same person. Or even if you borrow from the same person, that day when the person reaches 19,999, now don't borrow. Because exact 20 is also a violation. Now borrow from another person. Do you understand the limit of 20,000 is per person? Do you understand that 20,000 is not per transaction, it is the total limit per person? And do you understand that equal to 20,000 is also not allowed? In other words, listen to a line that I am saying. If you understand this line, then my job will be a little easy then I can go ahead. You can take cash loan from one person a total of up to 19,999. Up to 19,999 allowed. Exact 20 is also a violation. Up to 19,999 allowed. Exact 20 is also a violation. Have you understood this? You can give any amount in cash or other modes. There is no prohibition on giving. Give any amount, any mode. Take in these three modes unlimited amount. In cash up to 19,999. Cash loan taken exact 20,000 will become a violation and it will attract 269 SS. Have you understood? So, is exact 20,000 cash loan also going to attract the 269 SS? Taken, of course. Given is not covered. I am talking about taken only. Is exact 20,000 also going to attract? Absolutely. Yes. Understood section 269 SS? Now, we are done with the section. Of course, there are a lot of doubts in your mind. I am going to be doing multiple examples with different numbers. First check taken, then cash, first cash, then check. Everything will be explained in number terms. But before I take those examples, before I start further explanation with the help of example, I would also like to tell you about section 271D. If the provisions of section 269 SS are contravened, the assessee will be liable for penalty under section 271D. See, listen, there is a difference between grammar and a handwritten book. If I have to write this in grammar, then what is the full sentence in English? If the provision of section 269 SS is contravened. Contravened means, can I say I have taken cash loan of 20,000 or more? Then there is contravention and there is going to be penalty. Tell me one thing, penalty will be on the lender or the borrower? Borrower. Tell me one thing, in the transaction of token, advance money, the penalty will be on the buyer or the seller? Seller. So, giving is never a problem. Problem is with respect to taking. Now pay attention please. The rule is given where? Here. This is the rule. 269 SS. If you contravene the rule, then penalty will get attracted in another section. Which section is the section for levy of penalty? 271D. Rule is given in 269 SS. Penalty is given in 271D. Actually, the full series 271, 271A, B, D, C, E, they are all sections of penalties. So what is going to happen is, rule will be given in some other chapter, just to give you a little idea of what this is. Okay. For example, there is a section 44AA in PGBP chapter. This has given a rule, maintain books of accounts. So where is the rule given? 44AA of PGBP chapter. If you don't maintain books of accounts, penalty is given in 271, 25,000. There is a rule given in PGBP chapter, get a tax audit done. If you don't get a tax audit done, there is going to be a penalty. 0.5% of turnover or 1,50,000, whichever is lower. That section is 271B. So all the rules will be given in different chapters. For example, the rule with respect to mode of acceptance of loan is given in 269 SS. But the penalty for violation of 269 SS is not given in the same section. For penalties, there is a separate sequence of sections in the series of 271. And what is the penalty for? Right now we will focus on 269 SS only. What is the penalty for section for violation of 269 SS? Section 271D. Now if you have understood, then tell me, where is the rule given? SS. And where is the penalty given if you violate? And have you also understood this cross means violation, contravention? So if you want to write in grammar, you have already been given the textbook. The full grammar will come in the textbook. If the provisions of 269 SS are contravened or violated, then the penalty will get attracted in 271D. But are you also understanding the handwritten language? The penalty that you will be facing will be 100%. 100% of the loan, advance or deposit which has been taken or accepted. See, for loans we use the term taken, but for deposit we use the term accepted. It is a matter of English terminology. You can just write any one of the terms also. You can write taken or accepted, any one word also, that is also okay. 100% of the loan, advance or deposit taken or accepted in violation of 269 SS. 100% of the loan, advance or deposit taken in violation. So if I have to ask you in percentage terms, what is the penalty for violation of 269 SS? 100%. 100%. This 100% we will apply on what? The loan, advance or deposit. Now is the time when we will be doing multiple examples of 269 SS. Once we do all the examples that I am covering over here, anything that comes on 269 SS, you will be able to answer. Before I start those examples, just a quick recap about the section and the penalty. You are not allowed to take or accept. That means, is giving anything allowed? Any amount, any mode, anything is allowed? Prohibition is on taking. Taking what? Three things: loan, advance or deposit in money. So non-monetary transactions again not covered. And when we say in money also, you can take in three modes. What are the three modes allowed? Account pay check, account pay draft, electronic mode. Anyways, the prohibition is on cash, and cash also can be taken up to what amount? No. Anybody saying 20,000 is wrong. Cash can be taken up to what amount? 19,999, because the moment you take exact 20, it becomes a case of violation and penalty. Have you understood this? Chalo. So, how much is the penalty for violation? Just tell me that also. Only in percentage terms. 100%. The remaining explanation I will give you. Just below this penalty section, if at all you are also taking down the notes simultaneously with me, leave a line. Leave a line. Okay, I have to make you write something more over there. Just leave one line is enough. Let me take you now to some examples of section 269 SS. I am going to make for you an account called loan taken from friend. Remember 5 minutes ago I have taken a loan? Loan taken. Mind you, we cannot make a loan given account to understand 269 SS, because on loans given 269 SS is not applicable only. 269 SS is applicable on loans taken. So I have taken a loan. Okay. I have taken a loan in NEFT rupees 40,000. 40,000 loan taken in NEFT. Is 40,000 exceeding the monetary limit of 20 or more?
Yes.
So now we have to decide whether there is a violation. We have to decide whether there is violation or no violation. We have to decide whether there will be penalty or no penalty. And as a general rule, listen, if there is no penalty, then we will put a tick in green color. Can you see the color also on the screen? Green color tick means no violation, no penalty. And if there is violation and we want to levy penalty, then we will put a red cross. So, no violation, no penalty. Yes violation, yes penalty. Green tick or red cross. System understood? Chalo, let's decide. Loan taken exceeding the monetary limit of 269 SS. This is more than 20,000 and therefore tick or cross. Violation or no violation?
No violation. No violation.
Arey, you've crossed the monetary limit.
But return the modes specified.
Allowed mode can be crores of rupees. Absolutely no violation. Tick, green tick means no violation. Chalo. See, listen. I am doing multiple examples. So when we start, we have to start with an example like this. I cannot take you to the toughest example at the beginning. One step at a time. Second example. But a new example, huh? Fresh account. If I do the if I do another transaction with my same friend, then I will write in this account as a second transaction. No, it's a new friend, new transaction. I hope you remember that the limit of 20,000 anyways is party wise. Hello. So new account. This time I have taken in cash. Last time you said no, allowed mode, so no violation. So this time it is cash.
No violation.
Cash.
But it is no violation.
You are still saying no violation. Last time you said it is NEFT, so no violation. I agreed. This time it is cash. Still you are saying no violation. I agree. Tell me the reason. Very easy. Below the monetary limit. Simple. Less than 20. Very good. Next. I am still talking about easy things with you. Loan taken in cash. 60,000 rupees. Very easy to decide. Very easy to decide. I'll tell you what. How to decide. Understand that also. Just answer these questions. Have I taken or accepted? Loan, advance or deposit? Yes. Just yes or no. Have I taken or accepted? Yes. Loan, advance or deposit? Yes. In money? In yes. Other than the allowed modes?
Yes.
Exceeding the monetary limit, then everything given in section 269 SS is involved, and consequently this is a violation, and thus red color cross. Red color cross means we will be putting penalty here later. First let's finish all the examples. We will be writing penalty. Acha, by the way, you have common sense to understand. Here there will not be any penalty, so no question of writing quantum of penalty here. We will be writing quantum of penalty only on those places where we have put the cross. Obviously no. Chalo. But we will go to some complicated cases now. Next case, cash loan of 20,000. You know very well what I am trying to test you on here.
Violation.
Is there violation? Because everything else is same as this. Taken or accepted, loan advance deposit, disallowed mode. This time monetary limit crossed, but this time monetary limit also crossed, because equal to 20 is also a violation. The things that matter, always pay attention to them. Are you following? Very good. Violation. Obviously, wherever we are putting the cross, we will come back to all those cases to write something else also, that is the quantum of penalty, but only at those places where we are putting the cross. If it's a tick, obviously there will be no penalty. Next case. Now we are going to complicate things a bit. This is example 2 repeated. Right now there is no complication. Right now there is no complication. Obviously this is repetition of example 2. We all know it is less than the monetary limit, so no penalty. With the same party I have done another transaction. That means I will write in the same account, no? NEFT of 1 lakh. Answer what I am asking. Answer what I am asking. What was the reason of you saying no penalty for 15,000? Give me the reason. Below monetary limit. After we add 1 lakh, the total becomes 1,15,000.
Yes.
Thus, the total is now more than the monetary limit,
Yes.
and therefore penalty.
Is not there. And mode of transactions. 216. Electronic transfer.
No penalty because it is allowed mode. No penalty because it is allowed mode. Understood? Hello? No penalty because it is allowed mode. So when we do our first transaction, no penalty because we have not exceeded the monetary threshold, and when we exceeded the monetary threshold, we did our transaction in an allowed mode. Accordingly, we have not violated anything, and thus in both the transactions our answer was no penalty. And from my side, I would like to give you one last example, after which from my side all the examples will get over. From my side, all the examples will get over. From your side, if you want to incorporate any more example, I will be more than happy to do that for you. But from my side, last example. If you understand this example, example 6, then in my humble opinion, you have understood section 269 SS perfectly. Arey, this is not a difficult example. You know which is this example?
First.
This is the first one. Obviously no penalty, even if it is 40,000. Give reason please.
Electronic mode of electronic mode.
From the same party, cash loan, 1 rupee. I just want to hear from you. Violation or no violation?
The violation, it is a violation.
Let's take a voting. Those who think it is a violation will for a small second unmute themselves and shout loudly violation now.
Violation. Violation.
ये loudly था. Let me explain what is the meaning of loudly for both the gents department of the class and the ladies department of the class. For the ladies department of the class, after a few years, at what volume you will be shouting at that poor guy? Start practicing from now only. Practice makes a man as well as woman perfect. And for the gents department, after a few years, when she will shout at you in that volume, you will not be able to take or reply your revenge in that same volume. So you better take your revenge now only. That is the volume that I am talking about. Those who think it is a violation will unmute themselves and shout violation now.
Violation. Violation.
Those who think there is no violation will unmute themselves and shout no violation now. I think most students in the class feel no violation because that is how Indian Parliament works. I don't know whether you've seen Parliament sessions on Lok Sabha TV ever, but whenever there is a proposal given by the government, the speaker makes an announcement in the Parliament. Those who are in favor say aye, something like that. So they all shout. Those who are against say no, and whichever is the louder volume. I am not joking. I am not joking. Whichever is the louder volume, it is taken that the voting is in that direction. But this is my classroom, not a parliament. By the way, India is a democracy outside my classroom. In my classroom, it is only a dictatorship and I am the dictator here. Because the bad news is, anyways, we are living in a country where minority also has to be protected. So the truth is, this time, minority wins. Now listen please. Those who said no violation, primarily because they said, sir, cash is less than 20. I think that was your only reason behind saying no violation. Correct me if I am wrong. The cash component of the total loan is less than 20,000. Accordingly, there is no violation. Correct or no? There is one thing that I have hidden from you here. And I will tell you that now. In order to apply 269SS, there is a monetary limit given. That's 20,000 or more, equal to 20 is also covered, that everyone has understood. What total will be taken in this 20? The present amount of your loan. Tell me what is the present amount of your loan in the example that we are discussing. Present amount of loan for which we are discussing. ₹1 yaar. What am I asking? Present transaction amount is how much? ₹1. All those who have added 40,000, do you not have the brain to understand that if you are talking about 40,000, that means you are adding the outstanding loan of the past also? I am asking you what? Ek second, come here. I am asking you, for which transaction are we deciding about violation? What is that amount? The present amount of loan. ₹1. ₹1? ₹1. And is there any outstanding loan from the same party? Now tell me. So when I say outstanding loan from the same person, please look at this line very carefully, because this will correct the mistake made by a lot of students in the class. When I say we have to take outstanding loan from the same party, have I written outstanding loan from the same party in cash? No. And if I don't write that, That means outstanding loan from the same party in any mode, and that is 40,000. That total has to be taken, and that total is 40,000 and 1 rupee, and which is 20 or more. Thus, there is going to be a violation. So, listen, ladies and gentlemen, for checking the total outstanding, we will take the past balances which were taken in any mode. Obviously, if the past loans were also taken in cash, then they would have been liable for penalty at the time of doing the transaction itself. And if the past loans were taken in allowed modes, then there was no penalty on them. Look at this. But to decide about the present day amount, you have to take the past amounts irrespective of mode. What have we written? Outstanding from the same person. We have never written outstanding from the same person in cash. Did you understand the interpretation here? And thus, final conclusion is violation or no violation? Violation. At the time of taking this 1 rupee, there will be a violation. This, ladies and gentlemen, was explanation of section 269 SS. First of all, for this, if you want to add any example, from my side, whatever I wanted to give you, this was the toughest of all. If you can understand this, then you can understand anything and everything, and there will not be any possibility which I have not covered. Still, if you feel that I have this particular example, then we can create more examples here. I will cater to your examples also. Absolutely no problem. I am with you on this. But wait. On a condition that your example should not involve repayment, because repayment is covered in 269T. Without that, we cannot discuss repayment. You can give any example of loans taken that you can do in any mode, any amount, any chronology. First check, then cash, first cash, then check. Any mode, any chronology. Okay? Go ahead, please. Yes, Vidhi. Very good. I think someone in the chat box has also typed what is the difference between 5th and 6th point. Very good. First transaction was in cash.
Yes.
But there is no violation. Tell me why. Within the limit. Second transaction was in an allowed mode. Means there is no violation here because of not crossing the monetary limit. There is no violation here because of being allowed mode. No problem. Why there is no violation in example 5? Why is there a violation in example 6? Look at this transaction. No violation because it is allowed mode. Now when we look at this transaction is fulfilling two conditions. Condition 1, disallowed mode. Condition 2, exceeded monetary limit. Both conditions are fulfilled. Disallowed mode, more than the monetary limit. Disallowed mode, more than the monetary limit. This was not more than the monetary limit. This was allowed mode. This was allowed mode. Violation can arise only when both have happened. What two? Disallowed mode, more than limit. Disallowed mode, more than limit. And that has happened only in this transaction. That is the difference between example 5 and example 6. Understood? Any other monetary example anybody wants to create? Then now is the right time. Excellent. That means not having doubt can only be for two reasons. Reason number 1, you've understood everything. Reason number 2, sir, which chapter is going on? That can also, then how can you ask a doubt? Obviously. But let's be positive, not test positive. Let's be positive. Let's be positive. Let's assume that you all have understood when violation will happen, when violation will not happen. Now that we have understood 269 SS provision properly, now is the time to go and learn the quantum of penalty. In writing, we have already done the quantum of, yes. Yes, please go ahead.
For example, take a 90,999.
So I asked you to create a seventh example. When I am asking at that time, you are not saying, and when I am going ahead at that time, you are saying. Tell me what? NEFT, how much?
19,999.
Ek minute. First decide whether there is violation or no violation. Arey, this could have been 19 crore also. There is no violation. 999 rupees, 19 crore also. No violation. Now what?
Cash. 1 rupee with 10 rupees, then there's a violation. Right?
You have repeated this example only. It's the same thing. Nothing new. Understood? Tell me why this is a violation? Because monetary limit is achieved. Exact 20 is also covered, no? And disallowed mode. Yes, there is violation. Let this example also remain. I will make you write the quantum of penalty here also. At least the tick that I am putting and the cross that I am putting, that is understood, no? By the way, it is just a repetition of example 6. Now any more examples? 950 please. Okay. Have you all understood, everyone else? Acha chodo. Anybody else has got any other monetary example to ask? Then ask now. See, whenever we do any provision and you have any clarification required for that provision, either ask immediately or wait for the doubt session at the end of the class. Because when I go ahead and I am doing some other provision, after 5 minutes when I am explaining the penalty or the exceptions or the case laws, at that time if you create a numerical example, then you will spoil the flow of that provision also and this provision also. Okay. So, anybody else has got any other thing to ask about numbers in 269 SS? I am keeping it an open house. Now, any mode, any amount, any order, first check then cash, first cash then check, I allow you that also. Go for it now please. So, shall I go ahead then? Everyone? Okay. Now then, understand please. In writing terms, we have already stipulated what is the penalty. Please tell me, what is the penalty? 100%. Penalty is 100%. And now we will come and write the penalty in numbers. Now we will come and write the penalty in numbers. Okay. But first of all, we will come and write the numbers only where we have put a cross. Make sense to you? Wherever we have put the tick, obviously there is not going to be any penalty. Let's understand what is going to be the penalty in these cases. That way it is very simple to understand. What is the percentage? 100. So if you are ever asked in percentage terms, what is going to be your answer? 100%. Let's talk about numbers because there is a small controversy here also. So when you read this from here, 100% of the loan, advance or deposit taken in violation, it may be a little complicated, but I will make this part also very easy for you. Very easy for you. Okay. So please pay attention. What is the controversy? In example 1, no penalty, no discussion. In example 2, no penalty, no discussion. Till here, are you with me? Let's go to example 3. Cash loan taken 60,000. First decide. Violation, we have already decided. Yes, penalty. In percentage terms, what is the penalty? 100%. In number terms, what will be or should be the penalty of 271D? There is a controversy here. There is a big controversy. There are actually two options. Option 1, 100% of the amount in excess of 20,000. Up to 20 is allowed, no? So violation after 20. So 40,000. Or Option 2, 100 means 100, 60,000. Are you following? Percentage wise, the answer is always going to be 100 only, but 100% on what? On the total or only on the excess? Are you understanding the controversy here? The Rajasthan High Court, in a case law, Rukmani Ram Raghav Spinners, relax. The case law is printed in the book that I have given you, and anyways, that is only for your understanding. The High Court judgments are not as important as Supreme Court judgments. Anyways, okay. So Rajasthan High Court, in one of the cases, decided that penalty will be levied only on the excess over 20,000, and accordingly, in the example of 60,000, the penalty answer of Rajasthan High Court will come to 40,000. Are you following? But ICAI does not follow this judgment of Rajasthan High Court. According to ICAI, Rajasthan High Court is wrong. And I agree with ICAI for a change. My common sense also says so, that ICAI is right. And why is ICAI right? I can prove it to you by taking you to the example 4 just next to it. If you observe the cash loan taken in example 4, it exact 20,000 rupees. If you strictly go by what Rajasthan High Court has decided, then do you have the brain to understand that according to Rajasthan High Court, the answer will be 0 because the excess over 20,000 is 0? But if you follow ICAI here, then here also there will be a penalty of 20,000. 100% on the total. Just tell me one thing. In example 4 also, is there a violation? Yes. Should there be penalty? Yes. Going by the logic of Rajasthan High Court, we will end up not levying any penalty, and accordingly and consequently, ICAI does not follow that judgment, and I agree with ICAI for a change. Generally, I don't agree. Whenever ICAI takes another alternative, they generally take the wrong opinion only. But we have to unfortunately follow what ICAI follows. Many a times I get this feeling that I am getting paid to teach the wrong law. Why? Because ICAI is following it. So at the end of the day, if I am a practicing chartered accountant, I have to follow the correct law. But while acting as a CA final direct tax faculty, I don't have to follow the correct law. I have to follow what ICAI is following in its suggested answers. And sometimes I feel that I am getting paid for teaching the wrong law. That's how it works. But here, for a change, I strongly believe that the stand taken by ICAI is absolutely right. And example 4 has proved that. Do you agree? In other words, I have explained Rajasthan High Court only for general knowledge purposes. After today, obviously, you are a CA final student. So for you, it has to be what ICAI is doing. And anyways, logically also, I feel that is right. What do you feel? You feel ICAI is more logical than Rajasthan High Court here? At least after doing example 4? Yes, no? Then listen how I can make this easy for you. How I can make this easy. If you read 271D, it's very complicated. 100% of the loan, advance or deposit taken or accepted in violation. Shall I make it easy for you? That amount, I told you to leave a line, huh? That amount due to which you started jumping. Listen, when we did the first example of 40,000, you said no penalty. When we did the second example of 15,000, you said no penalty. When we did the third example of 60,000, you started jumping. Yes, penalty, yes, penalty, yes, penalty. Yes, penalty. That amount due to which you started jumping. Yes, penalty, yes, penalty, yes, penalty is also your penalty. That amount which resulted in violation is also your penalty. Just tell me one thing, that red color cross came because of which amount? Which is that amount of loan that you have taken? 60,000 in example 3, 20,000 in example 4. That amount due to which you start jumping. Yes, penalty, yes, penalty, yes, penalty, yes, is also, had it been a physical classroom, I would have performed in a better manner. But in front of the camera, I can only do this much. I can show only, I think, thank God, because most of my, in the last 1.5 years, sitting at one place, I am unable to actually button my coats also. If you can hear this noise, I was L, now I am double XL in the last 1.5 years. I always tell students that itna corona bhi nahi phaila jitna main phaila in the last 1.5 years. That's the truth. But had it been a physical class, I would have performed in a much better manner and showed you. But here I can confine myself only to this much. Yes, penalty came because of which amount? That's your penalty. That is also your penalty. Understood? Hello? Understood? Fantastic. Fantastic. In that case, now all we are required to do is come and complete our other cases. See, example 3 and 4 we have already mentioned the quantum of penalty. Example 5, there is no penalty, no. We will talk about only when cases where we have put a cross. Example 5, there is no such case. Let's talk about example 6. In the case of 40,000, there was no penalty, correct or no? So, whatever we will talk about, we will talk only about this transaction which attracted penalty. And what is the penalty? Now, answer what I am asking. In percentage terms, first tell me. 100. In rupee terms, if you here go by what Rajasthan High Court said, see now how illogical was Rajasthan High Court in deciding. According to the Rajasthan High Court, what do you have to do? Take total of the account. 40,001. Subtract 20,000 rupees. That means according to Rajasthan High Court here, the penalty will be 20,001 rupees. And my mistake was only to the extent of 1. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is 40,000. Imagine if this was 40 crore and this was 1 rupee. Then the penalty as per Rajasthan High Court would have been 40 crore and 1 minus 20,000. Illogical. I should be liable for penalty only on those transactions where I have done violation. Have I done any violation on 40,000? No. When has my violation taken place? 1 rupee. That is also my penalty. Understood? That amount due to which, you tell me, which amount made you put that cross, against which amount you have put that cross, that amount is also your penalty. Followed? This is the same example. Vidhi and everyone else will give me the answer. I am not discussing now. You will give me the final answer. What will be the penalty here? 1 rupee. That amount against which you have put your cross is also your penalty. And we are not discussing Rajasthan High Court anymore. Anyways, ICAI is not following this. We have to focus on what ICAI is following. And here, to that is only logical also. With this, we reach that stage of our life where we are done with the provision of 269 SS. We are also done with the penalty if we violate 269 SS. And now there are two things left in 269 SS. One, there are some exceptions given. On certain transactions, 269 SS is not applicable. Can I say if 269 SS is not applicable, it means nothing but you can take cash loans any amount, still there will be no penalty? Section not applicable means you are immune from applicability of penalty, correct or no? We will do those exceptions, if I may call them. And we have a few case laws. Exceptions and case laws are left. After that, 269 SS will get over and we go to the second part, the smaller part of the chapter, that is repayment. Repayment is covered in 269T. Let's talk about the exceptions first. Section 269 SS not applicable if the loan, advance or deposit is taken. Now observe the words please. You need to pay attention, copycats. You need to pay attention. Loan, advance or deposit taken from the following people or by the following people. Loan, advance or deposit taken from the following people, by the following people. I am going to give you a list of important people. Mitro, I am going to give you a list of important people. They are so important that if they take a loan, imagine please, if they take a loan, they are the borrower. Lender is anyways immune. No penalty on them. They are very important. And they are so important. Please listen and pay attention. If they are so important. If I take a loan from them, this time they are the lender. Hello? I am the borrower. No penalty on me also. So if they take, no penalty on them. If I take from them, no penalty on me. That means, see if you understood, if the lender or borrower, any one of them is this party, then section 269 SS is not applicable. On the borrower. Lender, anyways, it is not applicable. Lender, anyways, 269 SS is not applicable. And if any one of the two parties is this, then on the borrower also, section not applicable, no penalty. After I start giving you the list, you will be in a comfortable position to understand. First, any loan, advance or deposit taken by the government, taken from the government. Now tell me, I'll tell you both possibilities. Supposingly, government takes a loan from you. Government takes a loan from you. Okay. That means, can I say loan is taken by the government? You are the lender, government is the borrower. No penalty on the government. You are the lender, anyways, no penalty. Correct? And you take loan from the government. This time you are the borrower. No penalty on you. Lender is always immune. Lender is always immune. Borrower will have no penalty if any one of the two parties is government. Then borrower also will have no penalty. Now understood? Government company. Public sector company. Government company is defined in company law, you know, where more than 50% of the ownership is with government. Whatever is the definition as per company. No penalty. That means, listen, you take a loan from government company or you give loan to government company. Now you understood the meaning of from and by? Both cases, 269 SS, not applicable. Statutory corporation. Statutory corporation means an organization which has been established under a statute, under a law, under an act. Example, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. You heard the name before? Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of India, Life Insurance Corporation of India, State Bank of India, Unit Trust. They are all organizations established under an act. We call them statutory corporation. Section 269 SS, not applicable both ways. Listen, we borrow from ICAI. ICAI borrows from us. Transaction will not be covered under 269 SS. No problem. Obviously, it is their business. Ladies and gentlemen, for a normal trader, what is sales and purchases? No. For a bank, that is loan given and loan taken. Just imagine. Just imagine. Supposingly, you remember there was demonetization some years ago? Correct, no? Nafis, how much cash you deposited during demonetization? 357 rupees. There was no such note which was banned. We are CA articles. I don't know about you. I was a CA professor at that time. You can imagine the income below basic exemption limit. For the first time in my life, I was happy of being poor, that the rich people were worried. People like us had absolutely no problem only. There was no cash. Where is the problem? Imagine, Nafis, you are depositing 5 lakh rupees in your bank account. Retail stores, like a restaurant. See, in a restaurant, people will go and pay the bill in cash, no? At the end of the day, there is going to be huge collection. It can be 20, 30, 40, 50,000, 1 lakh rupees per day cash collection. It's a retail counter. They will be depositing that cash. Imagine this. You go and deposit cash in your bank account. We fill up the slip in the bank, give the money to the cashier, he stamps and we get SMS, your account has been credited. Imagine this. The moment the bank is taking that cash from you, imagine, has the bank taken or accepted? Just tell me yes or no. Yes. Loan, advance or deposit word is also covered, no? It's a deposit in your saving account. Loan, advance or deposit, any one of them? Yes. In cash. More than the monetary limit. This probably will make you feel that means the bank is liable for penalty. 100%. That means every time anybody deposits cash in his account, bank is liable for penalty. Lol. Obviously, we had to put banks under exception. Banks are created to handle cash and thus banks will not be covered under 269 SS. So let's be clear. We deposit anything in our bank account, no penalty on the bank, and we take a loan from a bank, no penalty on us. Borrower is immune. Lender anyway section only was not applicable. By the way, banks never release loans in cash. In fact, they will never give you loan money in your hand. They will directly give it to a vendor. That means if you take a car loan, they will directly give money to the car company, dealership. If you take a home loan, they will directly give the money to the builder. They never disburse the loan to the borrowers anyways. But we will cover the deposits. No. Cash deposit we make in our own account. No. Section not applicable. Obviously, it was never going to apply. And last point. Any other notified. I think this is the first time in your class that I have mentioned a thing like this. Any other notified case. In the coming days, in our upcoming chapters, a word like this, a line like this is going to come again and again, repeatedly, time and again. You are going to face a thing like this. Any other notified. Any other notified. So let me explain to you this concept once and for good so that in the future chapters, I don't have to go in the explanation again and again. A notification is basically an amendment in the law in the middle of the year. Generally, the Income Tax Act amendments are brought every year in the Finance Act. I said generally, yeah? Don't forget we have auntie right now. Auntie brings monthly amendments, daily amendments. She can bring weekly, she can do anything. General system is bringing amendments once in a year. But sometimes if there is something very, very urgently required to be done, then they will release something called a circular or a notification. Amendments in the law which come in the middle of the year, and the most popular example of this is your cost inflation index of capital gains. Most popular of all. Cost inflation index of capital gains. In the budget, they never announce the cost inflation index. After few months of the budget, they check what is the inflation, and accordingly, for the purpose of capital gains, that index is released. For your exam in May 22, November 22, it is 317, but that we will discuss when we come to the discussion on capital gains, not right now. It does not come in the budget, it comes in the middle of the year. And why is a thing like this required? Imagine please. Supposingly they have kept only 4 exceptions. This last point is not there. So what are the only 4 exceptions in 269 SS? Government, government company, bank and statutory corporation. Now they want to bring a 5th point here, a new exception. 269 SS not applicable to Mukesh Bhai. They may want to make an exception. Whoever wins elections, he is going to rule the country. He is the owner of India. Please understand, in order to incorporate this fifth point, Mukesh Bhai, finance minister will have to wait for 1st of February. Present this in his or her proposal in the bill. This bill has to be passed from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, receive the stamp of the president. Then this will become the act and this point 5 will get added here in the law. But we cannot make Mukesh Bhai, today is the month of September going on. We want to add fifth point. If Mukesh Bhai is saying I want to get added here, we cannot make him wait till February. Mukesh Bhai says then we have to do it immediately. At least that much makes sense to you. So what will happen is, please pay attention. One day, finance minister will stand up in the parliament and tell the parliament, dear parliament, I am adding this point any other notified year. Kindly allow me to add this point. This will get passed from Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, receive stamp of the president. Now this point number 5 is a part of the section. What is the significance of this point 5? With this, the parliament is giving the sitting finance minister the power. Whoever is on that post, it will change. But the sitting finance minister will have the power. Whenever in the middle of the year they want, they can release a notification and say, by virtue of the powers granted to me as finance minister by the parliament, was this point passed in the parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, stamp of president? That means we are giving a power to the finance minister. Whenever you want to add anything, you can add it by releasing a notification. That is the meaning of a notification. For example, in capital gains, it is mentioned that there is going to be a cost inflation index for calculation of long-term capital gains, the index cost of acquisition. And for that, there will be index released by way of notification every year. So we have permitted. So whenever they come out with such a notification, they write, by virtue of the power granted by point number 5 over here, it is hereby notified that Mukesh Bhai will also be an exception to this section. Such amendments which come in the middle of the year are called notifications. And once again, I would like to tell you, best example is cost inflation index, and a point like this, any other notified, you are going to encounter this in multiple chapters. Again and again it will come. Any other notified. List will be given, any other notified. List will be given, any other notified. Have you understood the meaning of any other notified which will come again and again? In this entire story, do you still remember 269 SS? No person shall take or accept loan advance deposit other than the in money other than the 3 allowable modes. If the total is touching 20 also, it's a violation and the penalty will be 100%. 100% of what amount? That amount due to which you start jumping. Yes, penalty is also your penalty, and we have written 5 exceptions. Any loan taken from them, I will not have any penalty. Any loan taken by them, they will not have any penalty. Section 269 SS will become inapplicable. Correct? There is a 6th exception. Some are like, sir, there are total 6 exceptions. You wrote 5, then you have drawn a line, and now you are saying 6. What stuff did you consume last night? By the way, our Jain festival is going on, so we don't eat after sunset during these 8 days. I'm sure some of you all may be aware. If you have Jain friends, you may be aware of this, that during these 8 days, there is no food consumption after sunset. And there are people who don't eat after sunset all throughout the year. But those who don't follow anything also, during these 8 days, they follow everything. So I actually did not consume, and that is precisely the reason why this happened. Okay, because controlling hunger for so many hours, imagine after 6:30 in the evening, not eaten anything, and now the first bite will go in the stomach, and in the last 1.5 years, the diet has also increased considerably because hardly anything to do. And when you are free, what else do you do other than eating or doing time pass here and there? So next bite will go after 11, after 10:30 at least. That is not the reason. That is not the reason. Please pay attention. The point 6 is different from the first 5 points. In case the lender and the borrower are both English agriculturist, English sakali English. In case the lender and the borrower are both farmers and they don't have any other income in India other than income from agriculture, then 269 SS not applicable. Idea is that farmers don't have income tax, and if they don't have any other income, then they can deal in cash, absolutely no problem. If the lender and borrower are both agriculturists, then 269 SS not applicable. I just want to see your talent, and you will have to tell me why I did not write point 6 along with point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is different in point 6 that I had to segregate it? Not that I was hungry. That is never the reason. I can take lectures for 15-20 hours without eating anything. That is not the reason. When I am in class, I don't feel only anything anyways. Tell me the reason why point 6 was segregated from the first 5 exceptions. Come on, I have...
Exceptions, the above exceptions were for borrowers only, and this is for both.
No, this is also for the lender and the borrower. Any one of them is also this party. The other party can be anyone. But here, both of them have to be farmers. Both of them have to be farmers. Here, both lender and borrower don't have to be government. Both lender and borrower don't have to be bank. One can be government, one can be you. One can be bank, one can be you. Here, both have to be farmers. That is the difference. And that is the reason point 6 is separated from the other exceptions. These are the cases where section 269 SS is not going to be applicable. Section will not apply. Understood? Mitro, understood? So, with this, we are done with first main section 269 SS, penalty for violation of 269 SS, examples including incorporation of penalty discussion, and also the cases where 269 SS is not going to apply only. So, no penalty at all. Mitro, correct? Now, we go to the last part under 269 SS, case laws. Last part under 269 SS, case laws. By the way, we will be having a separate case law lecture. I have been continuously telling you about this. The questions on case laws will come in exam, will come from that lecture that we are going to separately conduct. These case laws are not going to be directly tested in exam. And by the way, you don't learn like you are learning case laws. These are just general points to be noted about 269 SS. It's a mere coincidence that they were decided in some judgment. But you don't learn them like you are learning a judgment. Learn like you are learning some points to be noted. These case laws are only going to help you for better understanding of the chapter. Don't target them for exam point of view. Exam questions of case laws will be from our case law lecture. This is only for better understanding of the chapter. And whenever a case law is concerned, actually in case law there is no discussion, sir, why like this? Sir, why? Listen, it is that day, that court, that judge, he felt it like this and he has given his judgment. Some other court would have given, or some other judge would have given some other judgment. Maybe listen, that judge himself on some other day when he has not had a fight with his wife, when he is in a good mood, maybe he will give a different judgment. What am I saying? It is that day, that judge, that court who decided this. You learn like general points to be noted. Only the first case law being a Supreme Court judgment, I am also writing the name of the court and the name of the assessee. The other case laws are High Court judgments. Some of them are tribunal judgments. The name is irrelevant. Anyways, in the textbook that I have given, all the names are there. But you focus on the point that I am discussing. Because the first judgment is a Supreme Court judgment, I am writing the name of the court and also the name of the assessee. Kumari A.B. Shanti. Kumari A.B. Shanti. Supreme Court judgment. This is the biggest and the most important case law here because it is Supreme Court. All others are one-liners. In one line they will get over. Maximum discussion will happen here. Kumari A.B. Shanti. Kumari A.B. Shanti has done violation of 269 SS. When does violation of 269 SS take place? Loan, advance or deposit other than the three allowable modes, more than the monetary limit. She took a loan. And the moment you violate, therefore do you understand she is liable for 271D? At least this requires no explanation after what we have studied till now in the chapter. If you violate 269 SS, you are liable for penalty under 271D, correct? Problem was, she had some genuine circumstances. Some circumstances beyond her control. She was in an emergency situation. And because of an emergency situation, she took a cash loan. By the way, we have already studied exceptions of 269 SS. Have the exceptions anywhere told us that if there is any emergency situation? No. Only selected cases. Let me give you an example here. This may not be the exact story of Kumari A.B. Shanti, but this is something that can happen with anyone. This is something that can happen with you. This is something that can happen with me. This can happen with anyone and everyone. Supposingly you are working in a big 4 CA firm. Any student, by the way, out here working in big 4 CA firm? Please raise your hands and name your firms. Nafis?
Yes, sir.
Saranya? Anyone else? Yes, Romila? EY? No. Nafis said EY. Saranya said PwC. Anshika said EY. And Romila? Acha, so 2 EY, 2 PwC. You all must be knowing each other, no? No? It's okay. That's basically the culture of. Even if you know each other, that's probably because you were in the same college or the same coaching class. Or maybe same department in office. Definitely not because you are working in the same firm. These poor guys, okay? These poor children, they work for 366 days in a year, even in non-leap year. Mark the depth of my statement. Even in non-leap year. Because daytime, night time is added together. By the way, when you are in jail, no, the night time is also, supposingly you are given 14 years imprisonment, then night time is also counted as a day. The same applies for these poor children who are working in nothing less than a jail. So listen, you are working in such a big firm, like the morning 7 to 10 classes, then you have to rush to office. In the evening, you don't come home, your dead body comes home. And by magically it just becomes alive again next morning. Correct or no? At that time of the evening, when you come home and you are half dead, almost full dead, and at that time there is some medical emergency in the family. God forbid, touch wood, I pray to the Almighty that it does not happen. Just an example. If there is a medical emergency in a case like that, and the patient is critically ill, means anything can happen. So what will you say? To hell with you, yaar, I am too tired, I am not going anywhere. No? Will you take the patient to the hospital? The nearest hospital or the regular hospital where you go usually? Nearest or regular? Critically ill patient, emergency situation, anything can happen. Yeah. Common sense, nearest hospital. When you go to the nearest hospital instead of your regular hospital, because generally these big hospitals also, no, in the emergency ward, they only have trainees. A bunch of idiots sitting in emergency ward. And myself been through it, no, so I know that idiots are generally found over there. At that unfortunate situation, our brain stops working. We do not have the common sense to carry the medical history also of the patient. The regular doctor may be aware of it, but a new doctor will not know. But we are blank completely. And it is human nature, no matter how matured you are in situations like that, in situations like these, even the most matured people on the planet, no, they go blank. When you did not realize that you should carry the medical history, thinking about taking cash along with you was out of question here. And unfortunately, when you reach the hospital, you realize that you don't have any money. And welcome to hospitals of Mumbai. They will let the patient die, but not touch the patient unless and until you first deposit their advance. Correct? For more details, you can go and watch Akshay Kumar movie Gabbar is Back. You'll come to know what I am talking about. Or otherwise also, you can imagine what must be happening in hospitals. Alright? So, you realize that you don't have money. Now what? Coincidentally, when you were rushing your patient to the hospital, your neighbor who was returning from office saw you, and you have really cordial relations with I also have very cordial relations with my neighbor, his wife, everyone. I maintain good relations with, you share very good relations with your neighbor, and we strongly believe, my family wise we have been following that always maintain good relations with your neighbors. They are your first relative. In cases of difficult times, emergency situation, your relatives may not be able to reach on time, but your neighbor will always be available for you. So your neighbor saw you, he also came along with you to the hospital, and coincidences don't end here. Your neighbor is carrying some business payment in his pocket. He got some payment, said 2 lakh rupees. And the moment the hospital demanded money, your neighbor saw that you don't have cash. He said, take this money right now. You can go home and give it back to me. That's the whole story. Now answer this question. The moment your neighbor offers you that money and you take it, answer in yes or no. Have you taken or accepted?
Yes.
Loan, advance or deposit?
Yes.
Disallowed mode?
Yes.
More than the monetary limit?
Yes.
Not falling in the exceptions?
Yes.
Neighbor is not covered, no? Check it for yourself. Tell me one thing. With what you have studied till now in the chapter, is this a violation of 269 SS?
Yes.
So when your neighbor offers you that money, what do you say? No. Let the patient die, but I will not violate 269 SS. Correct? No? No? The moment you take the money, it is a violation, and the AO attracted penalty under 271D. AO is saying the law is blind. The law just sees what is written in the law. The law will not see your circumstances. Do you understand what is happening here? And thus the AO wanted to levy penalty. Going by what is written in 269 SS, the AO is under full right to do so. But this lady got very, very angry and upset. Now what the hell is going on? In an emergency medical situation, you think I am going to comply with provisions like 269 SS? She went up to Supreme Court. She fought the case up to, don't forget it's a Supreme Court judgment. She fought up to Supreme Court and gave her first argument. The first argument what Kumari Abhijanti gave in Supreme Court was, dear Supreme Court, section 269 SS is unconstitutional. Please tell Government of India to remove this section from income tax. Unconstitutional section. Please tell the government to remove this section from income tax. That was her first argument in Supreme Court. What do you mean by unconstitutional? Let me give you an explanation about this. The Constitution of India has given citizens some fundamental rights. right to equality, right to freedom, right to justice, right to freedom of expression, right to information under which you get your answer papers, so that you can identify what mistakes you made. RTA, right to education, for on which a beautiful movie Hindi medium was made by late actor Irfan Khan. No idea, no? Indian audience, worst audience in the world, you idiots. You go watch Prem Ratan Dhan Payo, you deserve that only. You are not going to watch a movie like Hindi medium. You are not going to watch a movie like Ghazi Attack. You are not going to watch a movie like Tumbad. You go watch Prem Ratan Dhan Payo. You deserve that only, and that is what Bollywood will give you also. Okay? So, basically, that was right to education, movie based on right to education. These are fundamental rights given by Constitution of India, and whenever any law of the country, whether Income Tax Act or Contract Act or Partnership Act or Sale of Goods, any act, if it goes against Constitution, it will be invalid. No law of the land can contradict or contravene or go against the Constitution of India. This is the senior most law of the country in terms of applicability. So if you ever feel there is injustice done to you, you can directly go and file something called a writ petition under the Constitution of India. That is what she did. She said it is injustice. By the way, those CA students also who filed a case against ICAI was also a writ petition. All they did was floated a hashtag on social media, ICAI denies justice, etc. etc. Problem kya tha malum hai? You know what was the problem? Problem was, we thought that things will become normal, so we did not study. We thought things never became normal. We were waiting for any physical class where we could go and study. We never enrolled for any online class. We did not study. And now institute is conducting exams. Now what to do? Best idea. Let's file a PIL. Let's go to social media. We will not study, but we will. I know you are very angry with what I am saying. But I will say what is in your interest, not what makes you happy. There is a difference between the two. Okay? I am not here to please you. You all have not given so many years of your life for postponement of exams. And ICAI has successfully conducted already 3 attempts. 4th attempt will most certainly take place after COVID. At this stage also, if people don't have the common sense, that start working, utilize your time properly, because exams will take place. To give or not is your choice. And in that also all the facilities were provided. You don't want to give, you don't give. But what is this tendency or attitude that no, don't take for anyone, cancel for everyone? You don't give, no. There are people who want to give exams. Why I am not supporting postponement? Because I was in that financial condition. When I was a student, I wanted to clear this exam as soon as and as early as possible, so that I can take the responsibility of my family. I was waiting for the exams to get conducted. Given a choice, I would have given the exam immediately after my PCC, 1 year after PCC. Mandatory break also I did not want, because I wanted to start earning very fast. One of the reasons I started teaching 1 year before I became a CA. When I was studying for final CA, I was also teaching at that time. I know what my condition was at that time. And there are a lot of students in CA who are in a similar condition. Everybody is not from the same background. You need to understand that. So you cannot cancel for everyone. Popatlal, cancel. You cannot just want cancellation for anything and everything. Sorry, but I am not going to support you for things like these. If you have any genuine issue, sir, I have COVID myself or family, please support that. Ready for that. Sir, I am an old course student. Environment requires extension of old course. Please support for that. Full support for that. Genuine things you say, I will support. Don't make stupid claims or stupid things. So, these PILs against institute are also, I don't know whether you know this, these PILs are also filed under the Constitution of India on the right to justice only. Okay? So, Kumari Abhijanti did the same thing. She said, you remember her story, there was a medical emergency in my family, which is why I took a loan and AOA is leaving penalty. That means you are doing injustice on me. A section like 269 SS is disallowing me from taking a loan. Listen, My neighbor gave me willingly, voluntarily, no? Or have I stolen the money from my neighbor's pocket? If he is ready to give, I am ready to take. Who the hell are you to stop us from doing this transaction? You are going against the Constitution of India. Dear government, please delete section 269 SS. So basically she was acting like Mother Teresa, community service. She wanted removal of 269 SS so that the benefit comes not only to her but to the entire mankind. Everybody can do cash loans. That was her first argument. Supreme Court said, Tai, come here. That constitution which has given you fundamental rights is also the same constitution which has given the government the right to collect taxes. Yes or no? Government also collects taxes because of the constitution power. And to curb evasion, provisions like these are required. Otherwise, people will escape the levy of tax interest penalty by giving a stupid argument. 5 minutes ago, I have taken a loan. To keep a check on such cases, provisions like these, prohibitory provisions, are required. By the way, we are not prohibiting loans. We are prohibiting only the mode. Don't forget that. Hello. And thus, this provision will not be deleted. Argument dismissed. I am not going to tell the government to remove this section. Supreme Court said this. We will not tell the government to remove this section. 269 SS will stay as it is. Argument number 1 dismissed. Listen, obviously it was dismissed. If argument number 1 was accepted, then today we would have been learning NRI taxation. Because argument 1 was dismissed, 269 SS is still a part of the law and we are studying it. Obviously it was dismissed. But Kumari Abhijanti in Supreme Court also gave a second argument. Next best option, next best alternative. Only those students who have done hardcore taxation work in office will have knowledge of this concept. Hardcore taxation work does not mean, sir, I file income tax returns. That is not hardcore taxation work. If you have made submissions to the assessing officer, if you have gone to the AO to argue the case on behalf of the assessing, AO or higher level, CIT, appeals tribunal, anywhere, if you have done any writing reply, then you will have knowledge of this, which I know none of you all have. I'm not even asking you. Okay? None of us have ever entered the income tax department building also. I'm not even asking you that. So let me tell you how this works. If Kumari Shanti gives only one argument in Supreme Court, it gets dismissed. Case is over. You have to come home crying. Nothing can be done. And thus, every time we fight any legal case, please pay attention. Every time we fight any legal case, we have to give our alternatives. This is my best option, second best option, next best option, next. Dear court, give me this. I want 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 this. In case you cannot give me this, at least give me this, please. This is my next best option. This does not mean that Kumari Abhijanti is asking for this. What does she want? First argument. If the court does not accept my first argument, then at least give me my second argument. This is my next best option. It is like you are fighting a murder case of a family member. You want the culprit to be hanged. So you will fight the case for the culprit to be hanged. But in the case, you will also give your next best option. In case the court does not give this life sentence, then at least give life imprisonment. That is the next best option. You always give your next best option. Because if you don't give your next best option and you lose this case, then the case only will get over. And thus you have to always give your next best option. When we write submissions to income tax department, we give this first. Anyways, this is our priority. Then we write a line. Without prejudice to my first argument, kindly grant me this. Means, this is my first requirement. If you cannot give this, then give me this. Without prejudice to first argument. Sometimes we write, assuming without accepting that you cannot give me my first argument, then at least give me my second argument. This is my next best option. And many a times in legal cases, people give, 5, 6, 7 best options. If not this, then this. If not this, then this. Wait, I will explain to you in your language. I have got all options. Style. Hashtag Thug Life. Listen. This is red rose. This is yellow rose. Please accept my red rose. Please, please, please accept. In case you cannot accept my red rose, at least accept my yellow. Some are like, sir, this we don't have to offer. This automatically is the counter offer. We offer red, in return we get yellow. We are CA students. It happens only here. Your next best option. Have you understood? First argument of Kumari Abhijanti was, please remove 269 SS. That argument was dismissed. Second argument of Kumari Abhijanti was, to hell with the rest of the world, my case is a genuine case. So even if you don't want to remove the entire section, at least no penalty should be levied on me. So listen, here she wanted removal of the entire section. That is why I said no, Mother Teresa. If the section gets removed, then the whole mankind will benefit from it. Here she is saying, don't remove the section, to hell with everyone else. Let the section remain in the act, but at least don't levy penalty on me. That is her next best argument. Are you understood? Next best alternative, next best argument. Mitro, Supreme Court said, Auntie, come here. Go and read the Income Tax Act properly. Somewhere in the Income Tax Act, you will find a section 273B. Somewhere in the Act also you will find, somewhere we will also study. We will study this section in a chapter called penalties. Where will we study this? Penalties. Whenever there is a reasonable cause, whenever there is, what, Mitro? Please be participative. It is no longer 7 o'clock. It has crossed 9 o'clock. Whenever there is reasonable whenever there is reasonable cause, genuine circumstances, there will be no penalty with respect to anything in income tax. Whenever there is reasonable cause, there will be no penalty. Listen. For example, non-maintenance of books of accounts. There is a penalty of 25,000 rupees. You maintain books of accounts, but they got destroyed in fire or floods. No penalty will get attracted. Because circumstances were beyond your control. You already have a section for that. Not getting a tax audit done, there is a penalty. 0.5% of turnover or 1,50,000, whichever is lower. Your books of accounts have been seized by the custom department. You don't have your books. If you don't have your books, can you call the auditor? Dear auditor, come and audit. What will the auditor come and audit? Your increase in weight due to work from home. You don't have your books only. Your books are seized by the custom department. You understand audit is not possible. Circumstances beyond your control. No penalty because there is reasonable cause. Whenever there is reasonable cause, not just for cash loans chapter, for anything and everything in income tax. Whenever there is reasonable cause, there will be no penalty. We have already enacted a section in Income Tax Act. So dear Kumari Abhijanti, if you think that your case is genuine and you should not be having any penalty, you don't need Supreme Court for that. Just go to your assessing officer, prove this. Obviously, burden of proof will be on the assessee. Prove this. And if you prove this, then we will not attract or levy any penalty on you. Mitro, Understood, Mitro? So, basically, first argument, please remove section 269 SS. That argument was dismissed, but if your case is genuine, then you can escape levy of penalty. This was the case law of Kumari Abhijanti, Supreme Court judgment, most important case law of the chapter, also because it was Supreme Court. As far as the other cases are concerned, don't learn them like you are learning case laws, learn them like you are learning general points to be noted. Mitro, we are in 269 SS case laws. I hope you are understanding what is happening. Okay, chalo, let's go ahead. In one of the cases, it was held by one of the court. Now, everything that we are writing here is the judgment of one of the judges. No argument over here. That judge felt it that way. Share application money is not loan, advance or deposit. Therefore, no penalty. I don't know how many people over here have applied for IPOs. It doesn't matter whether you apply or don't, because those who apply also never get allotment. My number of IPO rejections have already crossed my number of college time rejections. That record is already broken. Not a single IPO. I was very excited about Zomato in the recent times. That I wanted anyhow. Because Zomato feels like my own company. No? For bhukkad people like us, Zomato is my Tinder. Chodo yaar, you will take some time to understand that joke. It's okay. We'll keep a separate session on that. Let's focus on what is happening here. When we give share application money to the company, do you understand we are not giving any loan, advance or deposit to the company. It is contribution towards the capital. So even if the company has taken cash, obviously these days nobody takes cash, all the companies are taking UPI mandates. But in case, in the good old days, a company has taken cash for share application, there will be no penalty on the company. What was the reason behind this judgment? That share application is contribution towards capital and consequently it is not loan, it is not advance, it is not deposit. Make sense? By the way, whether they make sense or no, they are judgments and you have to follow them at face value. Okay? Any transaction between firm and partner. Listen, the arrow is both ways. Huh? So, firm to partner or partner to firm. Any transaction between firm and partner, no penalty. Any transaction between firm and partner, no penalty. Listen, in income tax, identity of firm and partner is different. But the truth is, in real life, the identity of firm and partner is same. Firm is responsible for actions of partner and vice versa. Any transaction between them, if a partner is giving money to firm, it is not loan, it is capital. If a partner is taking money from firm, it is drawings. You have common sense to understand what I am saying. And thus, 269 SS not applicable. Next, transaction done through bank transfer voucher. No penalty. Any transaction done through bank transfer voucher, no penalty. Listen, only explanation required is about what do you mean by bank transfer voucher. See, when two people have their accounts in the same bank, same branch, listen, same bank, same branch. Nafis, you have a bank account? Which bank? ICICI. Wow. Which branch?
It's the other branch.
Dadar branch. Acha. Where do you stay?
I used to stay in Nagpur. I shifted to Pune.
Acha.
It's an office apartment.
Acha. Okay. Mine is ICICI Opera House branch. But let's assume both of us had the same branch, Dadar branch. I want to transfer funds from my account to your account. You want a loan from me. Option 1. It can be check. It can be draft. I can do NEFT. There is a fourth option. We can walk into the bank branch. Take a transfer voucher. It's a slip like your deposit slip. I write my account number. My account number 000001. Kindly transfer 2 lakh rupees to the account number 00005. I submit it to the branch. All the branch is required to do is reduce my account balance, increase your account balance. No movement of cash, no movement of money. It is like journal entry, debit my account, credit your account. That's it. And I have transferred funds from my account to your account. Just tell me one thing. Is this account pay check? Is this account pay draft? Is this electronic mode? So the only 3 transactions which are allowed in this section, it does not fall in any one of them. But do you understand the purpose, the essence of 269 SS is not violated here because the transaction has happened through a bank. It's a banking transaction. And thus we are going to allow that. The objective is that the transaction should be traceable. Whether the transaction is a real transaction or a fake transaction, we have to see traceability. That's it. Are you following? And thus transaction through bank transfer voucher will not be liable for any penalty. Next, if you have taken any loan for availing cash discount on purchases, so one more court decided, no penalty. Loan taken for availing cash discount on purchases, no penalty. Listen, supposingly you are the owner of a ready-made garment shop, clothes shop, and your neighbor is shutting down shop and he is shifting with his family in a foreign country, and he has got all the stock in his shop. He comes to you, you have good relations with each other, even if you compete, healthy competition. He comes with you with a bag full of stock, says this stock is worth 10 lakh rupees, and you are an expert in your business. You can check the material and you identify yet, yes, it is truly worth 10 lakh rupees. No scam here. If you pay me right now in cash, because I have to live with my family, if you pay me right now, I will give you in 6 lakhs. 10 lakh worth goods you will get in 6 lakh if you pay right now. As a prudent businessman, as a businessman with little bit common sense, will you want to do a transaction like this? Come on.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you will want to avail that cash discount, but you don't have immediate funds. So what do? Immediately you took a loan so that you close the deal right now. Avail that 4 lakh benefit. The court said no penalty. And the whole logic behind the court saying no penalty was, listen, Mr. Income Tax Officer, listen, Mr. Assessing Officer, when the assessee has done a transaction like this, there is some benefit to income tax also. Guess? There is some benefit to income tax also. Guess?
So you will have a higher profit.
Less purchases. Perfect. Absolutely right. Fantastic answer, Dheeraj. But camera still has to be on throughout the class. Fantastic answer. Full class I said. Full class. Listen. If I purchase goods worth 10 lakh for 6 lakh, that means can I say extra profit of 4 lakh? And more profit means more tax. Somewhere income tax also has a benefit when the assessee is making purchases at a lower price. But of course, you have to prove this. You have to prove that, sir, normally I earn this much gross profit margin, but on these items, on this stock, I have earned higher gross profit. You have to prove that with numbers. You have to prove that with documentary evidence. If you are able to prove it, that means income tax also got an advantage, and thus there will be no penalty, is what was held by the court in one of the cases. Understood? Next. Short-term loans between sister concerns. No penalty. Short-term loans between sister concerns, No penalty. Unfortunately, sister concerns not properly defined. When you mean short term, what exactly is short term? That is not defined. So let's not get into the depth of it. Just understand roughly what this case was trying to say. If you have ever gone to the audit of a big group of companies, so what happens is there is a company, a big group where they have incorporated 10, 15, 20 companies, and all the companies are registered at one address. Have you seen things like this? Registered at one place, big group of companies, they are all under the same management. Generally, one of the companies has got maximum transactions and the other small companies are only incorporated for some small transaction purposes. Virtually, you will never get to see many transactions also, but as a statutory auditor, you have to perform the work of all of them. Not just that, there is a staff in office, there will be accountant, staff, everyone. They are getting paid from the payroll of the main company where most transactions are taking place, but they are doing accounts of all the companies because they are working under the same management. So one of the companies needs funds, other companies has got spare funds, you use those funds and you repay those funds. Such short term transactions are not going to be covered in 269 SS. Logic is simple, both companies are registered in the same premises, means both of them will keep their cash at one place. So whether the search is with respect to this company or that company, ultimately the cash will be at one place only. You can at least not say this that 5 minutes ago this cash came here, because if not in this company, then this company. The cash has to be in the books of one of the companies and you are the management of the same company or the same entire group, and thus such short term loans are not going to attract the penalty of 269 SS. Unfortunately, what is the meaning of short term and what is sister concern? No definition, and that is the reason why you do not have to get into the depth of discussion out here. Next, no penalty if the transaction is only a book entry. No penalty if the transaction is only a book entry. Supposingly you have purchased goods from me. Goods. So what entry you will pass? Purchase account debit to creditor account. So currently I am appearing in your balance sheet as a creditor. One day you will pay me. I am your current liability. You agree with this? You have that much knowledge of accounts. But because you have not paid on time as per agreement, now you will have to pay me interest. So what we did is, the balance of current liability will now be converted into a loan. The money that you are supposed to pay me as a creditor will now get converted into loan. That means journal entry, can I say, will be creditor account debit to loan account. We will remove the creditor and convert it into a loan. That means, can I say, we are creating a loan account in accounts, books of accounts. Is that loan account created by debiting account pay check, account pay draft or electronic mode? No. What have we debited? Creditor account debit to loan account. We have only passed a journal entry. Is there any movement of money? Have you actually taken a loan from me in the form of cash? No, it is only a book entry. But some assessing officers wanted to levy penalty on this. This is my loan account, loan taken, and we are writing some balance over here. Where is the balance coming? Not in the form of cash or check. The balance is coming from our creditors account. Our creditors are getting converted into loan. AO is saying this is not account pay check, account pay draft, electronic modes, so I will levy penalty. Nonsense. At the end of the day, chapter was created to prohibit transaction in cash, no. And thus, such book entries, there will be no penalty. Is this understood? And the last point under case laws, after which 269 SS completely will get over. Last point under case laws. The AO can either levy 271D, that means, can I say, loan penalty? 271D is for violation of 269 SS, or concealment penalty. he can levy only one of them on you. Your AO can never levy both of them. Just imagine, cash was found in your premises. You remember what argument assessee gave? Sir, 5 minutes ago I have taken a loan. Sir, 5 minutes ago I have taken a loan. You remember that? Fantastic. The moment you give that argument, you are liable for this penalty. AO levied this penalty on you. Now the AO is saying, hey, listen, but we all know that it is your concealed income. You are giving false argument. You are lying, and thus he is levying penalty for concealment also on that same amount. Assessee is saying, my dear assessing officer, you be sure whether you want to accept my loan theory or you don't want to accept my loan theory. If you accept my loan theory, that means I have violated this chapter and levy this, but then it is not concealment. Then you can't levy concealment penalty because you have accepted that it is a loan. And if you don't accept that it is a loan, I am giving you false information. Then levy concealment penalty. But then you have not accepted the loan, then don't levy this penalty. You cannot levy the loan penalty and still call it a concealment. You cannot levy both penalties. Accept my loan theory, then loan penalty, no concealment penalty. Don't accept my loan theory, then concealment penalty, but no loan penalty. You can never levy both penalties together. Such cumulative penalty will not get attracted. You can levy any one of them. Loan penalty or concealment penalty, only one of them will get attracted. Understood the last case here? With this, ladies and gentlemen, we are done with section 269 SS, its case laws, exceptions, penalty and numerical examples, everything. Here we declare our section 269 SS, first part of the chapter as over. And now we go to the second part, which is a very small part actually of the chapter. Now that we have decided to curb cash in the economy, so we will extend that concept even to repayment of loans. Till now, we were incorporating a prohibition on taking of loans. Now we are going to put that similar prohibition on repayment. Here is what the section says. Format will be majorly similar to what we have studied. No person shall, this time we are changing the word. Last time it was taken or accepted. This time we will say repay. No person shall repay. What? That same. Loan, advance or deposit. Once again that explanation is given. You remember in this chapter when we are referring to loan, advance, deposit, we are only talking about monetary transaction. We are not talking about non-monetary. Loan, advance or deposit in money. No person shall repay loan, advance or deposit in money other than, means listen, imagine if the section stops here. No person shall repay any loan. Mr. Malia will be like, wow, this is my type of provision. No person shall repay any loan. Wow. No. If you take a loan, are you required to repay? Yes. But you will not be allowed to repay other than, mitro, ladies and gentlemen, not allowed to repay other than same three modes. I always say this whenever I do this provision in the language of my state. I am born and brought up in the state of Maharashtra, and Marathi is my mother tongue as equal to my Marwadi. So I always say this, Toch apla nehemicha, means, don't worry, I will translate. Those regular ones. Which regular ones? Account pay check, account pay draft, electronic modes. Account pay check, account pay draft, electronic modes. The three allowable modes. That means, are you going to repay? Yes. Repay your loan, advance, deposit, but repay in the same three modes. At this stage, some people say, sir, loans are repaid. Maybe deposits are also repaid. But sir, advance for property token is forfeited, no? Under the Transfer of Property Act, the seller has the right to forfeit token if the buyer does not pay the balance. But that's a legal right. If the buyer and seller share good relations with each other, it is about relation, huh? Then it is not impossible. There are cases sometimes where token which is taken is repaid by the seller to the buyer. If you are not repaying, you have the full right to forfeit. But in case you repay, then you have to comply with 269T and you have to repay in the same three allowable modes. That means, are you going to repay loan, advance, deposit? Loan always, advance maybe sometimes, but you have to repay in the three allowable modes, same three modes. Now tell me one thing, ladies and gentlemen, in a loan transaction, there are two parties, lender and borrower. Section 269 SS was applicable on the borrower. Loan I am asking. 269 SS was applicable on the borrower. But 269T is applicable on lol. Gadedas. The lender will not repay loans. The person who takes the loan will be the person who will repay the loan. Imagine, the lender has given you the loan and now he will repay. No. That section and this section, both sections are applicable only to the person who has taken is also the person who will repay, means the borrower, and for advance transactions. Obviously, the seller. Let us conclude thus this chapter, both provisions, acceptance and repayment, 269 SS and 269T have granted a blanket immunity to the givers, the lenders, the buyers. The chapter is applicable only to the takers, the borrowers and the sellers. So the borrower, will he repay loan? Always. The seller, will he repay token? Sometimes. He may legally forfeit, but if he has good relations, he may repay. But only in the three allowable modes: account pay check, account pay draft, electronic modes. If last part, what was the last part of 269 SS? Monetary threshold? Last part. If the outstanding loan amount before repayment is rupees 20,000 or more. If the outstanding before repayment is rupees 20,000 or more. So tell me once again, if the outstanding is exact 20, will 269T be triggered? Yes. Equal to is covered in both the 269 SS as well as 269T. So if the outstanding is exact 20 also, then the repayment has to be in these three modes. Or can I conclude? See if you understand this line. Repayment of loan can happen in cash up to 19,999. If it is exact 20, it has to be repaid in three modes. Very good. I'll do numerical examples on this. I want to ask you an example orally first. I take a loan from you, any FT 1 lakh rupees, any FT 1 lakh, any FT 1 lakh. Is there any violation? No. Now I repay that 1 lakh in cash. Now I repay that 1 lakh in cash. What is the balance now? 1 lakh taken, 1 lakh repaid. What is the balance? 0. 0 is less than 20,000 and therefore violation. Why? Obviously, otherwise everybody will repay the entire amount in cash and make the balance after repayment below 20. It does not work that way. You have to check the balance before repayment. If the balance before repayment is 20,000 or more, then it has to be repaid in the three allowable modes. Otherwise, it will be a violation and it will attract penalty. How much penalty that we will learn? There is one section for penalty. Like last time we had 271D. Here we have 271E. But have you understood the amount has to be checked? before repayment. And in that there is a line which says, for property advance. Remember, sometimes token can also be repaid. You have to take total of all parties. For property advance, you have to take total of all parties. Array, listen, you won't understand on your own. Let me explain. Supposingly, 5 of you all from the same batch know each other since childhood. Childhood in Chartered Accountancy, foundation, inter, final, same class, same office, same college maybe. You all know each other. Tell me, Nafis, who are in your group? You said no, you already know people.
Yeah, we are from the same classes.
Give me 5 names total. Nafis bola, Saranya you said, Anshika you said, 2 more people. Neil and Varsha. 5 people. Nafis, Saranya, Anshika, Neil and Varsha. 5 people became CA together. Successful together and childhood friends. They jointly purchase a property. Jointly purchase a investment purposes. And I approached them for purchasing that property from them. And as a token, I gave a check, account pay check of 50,000 rupees. Account pay. And till the time the transaction is account pay check, at least there is no violation. I am the giver. For me, there will never be any violation. You guys who are the takers, no violation. But of course, check can be only in one person's name, no? Check can be in the name of one person. So I wrote the name of Nafis and gave the check. After taking that 50,000 check from me, Nafis distributed the share of 10,000. Remember 5 equal owners? So Nafis gave 10,000 to Anshika, Saranya, Neil and Varsha. That means, can I say that 50,000 token is equally distributed amongst the 5 joint owners? And everything has happened through bank account. So no violation till now. When the time came to pay the balance money, I found myself incapable. Legally, you are allowed to forfeit the token as seller if the buyer is not paying. But I come and fall in your feet. I am Marwadi, no ego when it comes to money. Please give my money back. By the way, you should have looked at the poverty on my face. Even before taking the token, you should have been aware that I will never be able to pay your balance. Please give. At least some point of life, I have taught you something. Considering that, at least please give my money. Please. You said, okay, chalo, together you all decided. We are willing to give your money back. But the condition is that we have already distributed the 50,000. So we can't give you in one check. You have to come to the house of each one of us to take your 10,000. That means I have to go to Nafis and take 10,000. Anshika and take 10,000, Saranya and take 10,000, Varsha and take 10,000, Neil and take 10,000. I will have to take 10,000 from each one of them. Because they have distributed, no? I said 5. You tell me 50 people. I will go because ultimately I am getting my money back. I have got no problem. So one by one I go. I come to Nafis first. Nafis, how much money you will give me and our balance will become 0? 10,000, but you still have to repay in these 3 modes because the total outstanding is 50. And if you repay in cash, you the repairer, obviously the repairer is liable for penalty. You will be liable for penalty. So Nafis, you have to repay in allowable mode. Next I go to Anshika. Anshika, individually, personally, your balance is 10,000, but the total outstanding is 40,000. You have to comply with the allowable modes. Otherwise, you will be liable for penalty. Next, I go to Saranya. Saranya, individual, you have to pay me 10,000. But the total outstanding is still 30. 2 people have paid. Total is 30. It is still there more than the monetary limit. You have to pay me in allowable mode. Otherwise, you will be liable for penalty. Next, I go to Neil. What is the total outstanding now? 3 people have paid. 20. Now to Neil can pay in cash, no? No. Equal to 20 is also covered. And thus, if the total is equal to 20, nil also has to repay in the allowable mode. Otherwise, he will also be liable for penalty. Have you understood this? Nil also has to pay in the allowable mode. Last I go to, who is left? Varsha, no? Last I go to Varsha. Individual outstanding also 10,000. 4 people have repaid. Total outstanding is also 10,000. Varsha can pay in cash. No problem. For property advance, you have to check total of all parties. I think I have convinced you with respect to the bracket, the line that I have written here. Understood? So, if you have to repay any loan advance or deposit, when the total outstanding before repayment is 20 or more, and for property advance, you will check the total of all parties, then the repayment has to be in the 3 allowable modes. Otherwise, there will be penalty. And what is the penalty? That is 271E. Tell me one thing. If 269 SS was contravened, then the section was 271. If 269T is contravened, then alphabetically the penalty will be under 271E. So, alphabetical arrangement is understood very easy. Congratulations and celebrations. 100% of the loan, advance or deposit. This time, the word that we will use is, last time it was taken or accepted, no? Supposingly, Nafis or Anshika or Saranya or Neil, the first 4 people, if they have repaid, that means they have violated, no? Repaid in violation of 269 SS. 100% of the loan, advance or deposit repaid in violation of 269 SS. Mitro, understood? 100% of the loan, advance or deposit repaid in violation. Tell me, are you following? Do you want me to make this easy for you? You want to start dancing here? Same thing. That amount due to which, arey say no yaar, you start jumping. What? That amount which, due to which you start jumping. Yes, penalty, yes, penalty, yes, penalty, yes, penalty, will also be your penalty. That amount due to which you start jumping will also be your penalty. I was checking if you are paying attention. Obviously, 271D is for 269 SS, E is for 269T, but penalty is same. That amount due to which you say yes penalty is also going to be your penalty. Mitro, now then let's incorporate this in the same numerical examples that we have actually studied. I am going to scroll up. Are you with me? Come here. Loan taken from friend, NEFT, 40,000 rupees. No violation because it was NEFT. Now this loan is repaid in cash, 40,000 rupees. First question, is there any violation? Yes. Why? Let's check. Just tell me yes or no. Have I repaid?
Yes.
Loan, advance, deposit?
Yes.
Disallowed mode?
Yes.
Okay, balance has become 0, no, less than 20, no. Before repayment. Before repayment it is 20 or more. If it is equal to 20, still it is covered, and thus there will be penalty. And now I think you will be able to also tell me the penalty figure. Come on, don't disappoint me. What will be the penalty figure?
40,000.
Obviously, 100% of the amount repaid. 100% of the amount repaid will be your penalty. No problem. Let's come to the second example. Cash taken 15,000, no violation, no penalty. NEFT added in this 1 lakh rupees. So basically this somewhat becomes similar to your example 5 only. First tell me, is there violation of 269 SS? No? No penalty? From this, I have repaid in NEFT 90,000 rupees. Repaid. Outstanding before repayment was 115, more than the monetary limit. So will there be penalty? No. Why no? Because repaid in allowed mode. No penalty. But after this, I repaid in cash the balance. 25, no? Is there violation? Yes. Repaid, loan advance deposit, disallowed mode, outstanding before repayment more than the monetary limit. And thus there is violation. And which penalty will come? 271E. How much? How much? 25,000. Correct? Same thing if I come to example 5 first. Supposingly, instead of doing NEFT 90, I do NEFT of 1,05,000. Obviously, being NEFT, there will be no penalty. And now, I have repaid the remaining amount in cash, 10,000. Now, what is your answer? Arey, last time you did first NEFT and then cash, you said yes, penalty. Then this time, why you are saying no penalty? The outstanding before repayment does not exceed the monetary limit, and thus this time there will be no penalty. Are you understood? Very good. Before I do more examples, I want to give you a line here. You all have understood the section and the penalty, I believe. But I want to add one line for you. I want to notify you. I want to inform you that there will never be any cumulative penalty on the same amount. You will not be penalized twice. For example, if I take a loan in cash and I violate the 269 SS, then on that amount, have I already paid 100% penalty? Then when I repay the same amount, I will not be made to pay penalty again on the same amount. Same amount will not suffer penalty twice. Do you pay tax on the same income twice? Once you clear intermediate, do you give intermediate twice again because you have not cleared CA final, you give intermediate again? No. So same amount will not be penalized again. Now I will continue. Come here. Example 3. Cash loan 60,000. There was penalty of 60. You will understand what I have written now. Now this 60,000 I have repaid in cash. Answer what I am asking. Is there violation of 269 SS?
Yes.
Yes. Because outstanding before repayment was 20 or more. Disallowed mode? Yes. Going by this, in an ideal environment, we would have penalty of 60,000. Normal circumstances. But at the time of taking the loan, we have already paid some penalty. How much?
60.
Then we will adjust that 60 and thus there will be no penalty. If you have paid penalty at the time of taking the loan, then there will be no penalty at the time of repayment on that same amount. And to discuss with you the toughest possible thing here, come with me to example number 6. NEFT 40, no penalty. Cash 1 rupee still penalty because total outstanding has exceeded the monetary limit. So what is the total penalty that you have paid in example 6 for 269 SS? 1 rupee. No problem. Now this amount has been repaid in cash. Answer what I am asking. Is there violation?
Yes.
Yes. Should there be penalty?
Yes.
Yes. Which section? 271E. 100% comes to 40,000 and 1 rupee. And already we have paid how much? So balance of 40,000 will be your penalty here. Whatever you have already paid will be adjusted here. Understood? So there will be no cumulative penalty. So answer whether you have understood 269T, whether you have understood the penalty for violation and the concept of no cumulative penalty, and the monetary limit that in property advance we will take total of all the parties. Understood everything? Ladies and gentlemen, there are some exceptions in 269T also. Exceptions. Congratulations, Abhinandanam. Same means government, government company, statutory corporation, bank, any other notified, and last if the lender, borrower are both agriculturists. Same. Nice. Congratulations one more time, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of your chapter 269 SS, mode of acceptance and repayment of loans.